Dear Dhamma friends, dear Venerable sisters and Dhamma friends, we are going to start today's question and answer session. And as usual, we'll start with written question. I think before that we have a small video clip, and this is to deal with how to deal with the anger based upon the Koda Bhasaka Sutta given by the Buddha, but this is presenting it in a completely different context, so we'll take few minutes and then start the session with already written questions.
What's up, kids? I got a story today. Once upon a time, there was a king. Now, this king, he was mad cool, right? He didn't like to be in the palace. He liked to go out, go on his own, get away, go to nature, and just chill. So every now and then, he would just take his horse and just go. But one day, when the king was gone, a monster showed up at the palace door. Boom, 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 boom.
Start with the gate, please.
The monster knocked on the door, and one of the guards opened it. He took one look at this monster and said, "What's up, kids? I got a story today. Once upon a time, there was a king. Now this king, he was mad cool, right? He didn't like to be in the palace. He liked to go out, go on his own, get away, go to nature, and just chill. So every now and then, he would just take his horse and just go. But one day, when the king was gone, a monster showed up at the palace door. Boom, 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 boom. The monster knocked on the door, and one of the guards opened it. He took one look at this monster and said, "What the you ugly, dirty monster, get the hell out of here. What are you doing on the king's doorstep? You don't deserve to be here. Go. Get away." And with every word of negativity, unkindness, and pushing away, that monster grew bigger and bigger and bigger, until the monster was so big that he just pushed the guard out of the way, stepped on him, and knocked a hole through the palace door. And now, the monster was in the king's palace. Now these other guards heard all the noise, and so they came running to see what's going on. They see this ugly monster and say, Who let you in the king's palace? No, you should not be here. Get the hell out of here, you ugly, dirty, smelly monster. Leave now." And with every word of negativity, unkindness, pushing away, that monster grew bigger, more ugly, and more smelly. And then the monster just walked up, right up to the king's throne, flopped on top of the throne. The monster had now taken control of the palace. But one of the king's closest men, the last man in the palace, he stayed back, observing. And he said to himself, "The king will know what to do." So he hopped on his horse and went to find the king. He finds the king and he's like, "King, you're not going to believe what happened. Your palace has been taken over by a monster." Now the king was a very wise king, right? I told you he was cool, he was wise. So he took a deep breath and said, "Okay, take me to him." And so they rolled back to the palace, and the king walks in the front. He sees the hole in the wall where the palace door used to be. He walks up to the monster and says, "Welcome. It's good to see you. How you doing? Is everything okay?" And with every word of kindness, compassion, and acceptance, that monster grew smaller and smaller and smaller. "Hey, monster, you smell a little foul. You ever taken a bath in a golden bathtub before? Maids, please take care of my friend. Clean him up real good." And with every word of kindness, welcoming, and acceptance, that monster got smaller and smaller, until the king finally said, "You know what, monster? You can stay here as long as you like." And at that moment, that monster disappear. The moral of this story is the monster inside of us, the anger, the jealousy, the negativity, the depression that we try to push out. You don't belong here. Get out. When we do that, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But if we approach it with kindness, acceptance, make peace with it, and take care of it, that monster will eventually disappear. Peace.
Okay, now we'll start the formal session. Anand will present the written questions, please. Yes. Can you hear? Sukhi hotu supati. Supati.
Bhante, there are 15 questions today, and one is a request that I have put it last, and I was given 2 more questions. These 2 are not included, but if there is time, we may take them, please. And also an announcement that there were a number of people who made the request that if we can finish it at 9:30. So intention is to finish the Q&A session by 9:30. Due to the large number of questions, and some of them are very long, the responsive questions or comments will be limited to the last, if there is time. So when the Bhante answers the first question, we will straight go to the second one. So thereafter, if there is time, only we will come back to, if anyone has any comments or questions. Sorry about the way that we have to handle it, but that's how sometimes the reality of life is. Okay, thank you. Venerable Bhante, my posture is working and my primary object of meditation is tactile sensation on my feet. In a good indoor session, I note and experience the landing of feet, i.e. back part of the feet followed by the front part of the toes. I notice the friction and the difference of temperature relating to feet of the carpet as well. I know that the acceptable method is to not to look beyond 2 meters when walking, but it does not help me much. But when I keep my head straight and look directly to the wall, I can be mindful continuously for few rounds and can change into auto mode, i.e. without directing the legs to move but watch the movement while walking. I am a novice to meditation. Am I doing something unnecessary or useless? Please advise me with metta.
So, under the circumstances of indoor meditation, as far as we have this kind of a luxurious meditation path, you can do it. But when you are doing in outdoor, if you are going to look directly, a lot of visual objects may come and distraction may happen. So therefore, train it as far as this facility is available, train how much you are noting and labeling, and how quickly you can go into the autopiloting mode, and so that you may develop some kind of acquaintance, and that may be helpful in future. And they are the downcast eyes, that means about 2 meters ahead, may be useful till that you can continue without much of a problem. Yeah.
Thank you, Bhante. Dear Most Venerable Dhammajiva, first of all, thank you for coming back. My posture is walking. After a good 15 to 20 minutes of walking meditation, I felt boring and lethargic. Hence, I bid adventurous type. I thought of walking backwards and sideways for good 5 to 10 minutes. It kept me alive and alert, and I have a lot of energy for my sitting meditation. Is it okay to try these once in a way? Thank you, Bhante, with respect and much metta.
So if you go back to Bodhijana magazine, it may be fairly early magazine, there was one article on walking meditation according to the Thai tradition by Venerable, I can't remember exactly the name. It's well written, and there that Venerable is recommending to do this adventurous kind of meditation, walking meditation, just walk backward, specifically the uncertainty, and you are backward, therefore there is no chance for sloth and stupor to set in, or laziness or sleepiness. And he says, if possible, do it in a half-wall reverse walking. Then you will be really, really alert, because you are walking on a wall and reverse. So likewise, you have to, whenever the Mara or the defilements put the balls, you have to bat accordingly. So you may assimilate number of ways to work it with, and then it's a fun, then it's adventurous. So this is how we make our meditation as a fun or hobby.
Number 3, again on walking meditation. Dear Venerable Bhante, my posture is walking. Primary object, walking. On a good session, I would mindfully observing my feet moving. At times during my walking meditation, the sound of silence is very strong. Do I observe the silence at the same time as my walking, or leave it in the background? The same thing happens during daily activities as well. Thank you, Bhante, with metta.
Whenever such a endowment or result or good thing happen, one rule of thumb is these endowment never distract your meditation, unless otherwise you try to think about and make it a problem. So when the mind calms down in walking or day-to-day activities, the sound of silence indicate the solitude, that no hindrances, you can go, but it never make a distraction. It never make a crossing of your path. So therefore, you can take the sound of silence first, and then through that you can see the walking meditation. Or through walking meditation you can see sound of silence. They are happening one after the other or side by side. So this is the way they happen. So don't make a question out of that. It's a result of meditation. So make sure, so keep it in your mind, whatever the results, whatever the endowment, whatever the gain in meditation, never block your mindfulness, never distract your relationship with the primary object.
Those are the 3 questions on walking meditation. Now there are 7 questions on sitting meditation, Bhante. Dear Venerable Dhammajiva, it's a long question. My posture is sitting. My primary object of meditation is anapanasati and mindfulness in the present moment. My questions are related to the Dhamma talk given today, 4th day. First of all, I would like to express my utmost gratitude for the Dhamma talk, during which I can laugh at my own stupidity of having been entertaining the defilements without knowledge of doing it. I was definitely doubting whether I should use rising and falling, Mahasi or Anapanasati. I was determined to do the one that is going to get out of samsaric enlightenment sooner. And I was going to ask this question to a renowned meditation master. Meanwhile, I have yet another doubt in my mind whether listening to recorded talks of an Aryan teacher is enough, or should one be in the presence of a living Aryan who can give personal interview with when one is stuck, no, within brackets, no progress in meditation. So my questions are, does boredom includes experiencing extreme emotional feelings or restlessness? It describes it further.
No, the boredom is that it happens monotony, but the restlessness other thing may be very dramatic. So therefore boredom is basically whenever your mind is associating the same object again and again, it happens. But the restlessness and other thing may be due to other reasons, so you have to see them as separate 2 phenomena.
I will relate the extreme emotional feeling. This happened during my personal retreat in Vasa 2017. I was having nice, peaceful, beautiful breath for 3 days, when suddenly, without warning, on the 4th day, till the end of Vasa, I was confronted with many emotional baggage from the past. At first, I was just carried away to crying, but then it got worse to not being able to breathe, like I was suffocating. So much so that I avoided sitting meditation and have lost appetite. Then I distracted myself by just listening to Dhamma talks until I felt the emotions quite subsided. I started meditating again slowly, increasing the hours after Vasa in November 2017. When I felt secure, the emotions are not attacking, I began the usual routine of meditating at least 6 hours per day. However, this is when the restlessness started to set in. Although there isn't anything dramatic happening in sitting session, I seem to be unable to sit long hours. Even 1 hour was a struggle. As soon as I sit, I want to get up. As soon as I walk, I want to sit. Never satisfied with the posture, although nothing wrong. Now, walking and sitting do not pose problems. But when I lie down to sleep, I usually do mindfulness. Within brackets, I usually do mindfulness of present moment until I fall asleep. I am not able to maintain posture, that is lying on my back, which I usually do. I will turn to the left, half an hour later to the right, half an hour later folding legs, etc. Another thing that I have noticed, my daily activities, mindfulness seem to have gaps. Cleaning the toilets are not so bad, but during eating and bathroom activities, the gaps of being unmindful can be quite wide. Are those events I relate fall in the categories of boredom? What skillful means could you kindly advise for me? Thank you, Bhante, with much metta and gratitude, Venerable Ajita.
Yeah, that the boredom is you have to understand, as I am repeating, being in the same object, the boredom sets in. All the other related things may be some kind of unhappiness or very difficult to put under the category of boredom, but according to the list of events, it says you must learn to be mindful while working, or maybe walking meditation, or maybe some gardening, maybe some yoga exercises. So when that is happening, this emotional situation and the boredom and nothing can happen. So whenever the time permits, you can go and sit, and even then, don't just use the term meditation, just use the term mindfulness. Try to be mindful in activity. It's very dramatic, and there you can see huge gaps, unmindful gaps. And seeing that is very interesting, because this is the way you complete the picture. So far you had kind of a phobia, so far you had a kind of a negative feeling towards the unmindfulness. Now you are slowly ready to accept it. Then you can see the whole picture. These are the places where I am mindful. These are the places I am not unmindful. So both you have to accept. When you are accepting the unmindfulness, you can see, for example, when you are mindful, you can see the beginning, the middle and the end of the breath, or beginning, the middle and the end of the rising and falling, or whatever the thing. But the moment you try to see the beginning, the middle and the end of unmindfulness, that is the way you are going into your subconscious. And knowing you are unmindful is appear like something irrational, but you can. You know you are not mindful, you are unmindful, you know it. Still no regret, still no agitation. And that is the way you make tunnels from the conscious mind to the unconscious mind. And they are unconscious is, according to the Carl Jung, called is universal. Everyone's unconscious is the same. So have that habit, have that trend. Whenever you mindful, see the cessation of mindfulness. That's the beginning of the unmindfulness. Just like see the cessation of your in-breath, out-breath. Just like you see the cessation of your falling movement of the abdomen. Whatever may be, whenever you try to see the cessation, most important thing, or most interesting thing, most dramatic thing is to see the cessation of mindfulness. Very difficult. Because we always look mindfulness in a positive way, beautiful way. So whenever it ceases to exist, we become discouraged and we become agitated. So we miss the bus. Whenever you try to understand unmindfulness, that is the way. Beginning of the unmindfulness is the end of the mindfulness. When you are observing, it is against the grain, and you are exploring into yourself, exploring into your innate nature, and without that, you only see the brighter side of the picture. You never see the others, the dark areas, but there's a hint. The Buddha says, the brighter area, there is no assurance the Nibbana is there. The Nibbana may be in the dark area, maybe. So therefore one day you have to welcome it. In Chanki Sutta, the Buddha mentioned, the people make decision with Saddha, Ruchi, Anusava, Akara Parivitaka, Ditti Nijjhana Khanti. You think truth is with wherever your Saddha is there, your faith. And where the truth must be there, where your likings are there. Truth must be there, where you have heard about from the holy scripts and kind of thing. The truth must be there, wherever the argumentally winning area. The truth must be there, whether you have already accepted your view. But the Buddha says, even though people think like that, whatever you accepted as faithful may not be rich with the truth. Whatever you rejected as unfaithful, sometimes may be. So it's a very radical way of putting everything topsy-turvy. Just accept the negativity. Just accept the dark areas. That means the end of the bright side. See the disappearance of the mindfulness. And whenever you are ready to look into that, then as I mentioned earlier, you are ready to accept your total personality, not only the glittering, not only the brighter side, even the other side also. Then the attitude will be complete, at least theoretically. So therefore, seeing this unmindfulness is a great achievement. But if you know how to facilitate it, then you are ready to accept the humanity, whole life, rather than what is the bright side. So I personally feel you must learn how to be mindful in activity rather than in sitting and walking, so that the emotional part will be well answered, because it is very dramatic you to do some action, but it must be a continuous action. It must be a short tasks, appointed task. You are cleaning this area of the lawn, or you do this task and while doing you try to be mindful. Rather than sitting and meditation with least amount of activities, sometimes mind becomes too much engaged. But when the mindfulness goes outwardly inactive, it becomes more practical and helpful at the beginning.
Dear Venerable Bhante, my posture is sitting. My primary object of meditation is Anapanasati. In a good session, I feel the breath becoming more subtle. I start to feel sloth and torpor. I don't fight it, but do my best to keep my head above the water. i.e., whenever I become conscious, I try to go back to being aware of the breath. After some period, I cannot tell how long, I wake up, within inverted commas wake up, I wake up like I have passed through the muddle of dullness and the mind feels bright and alert. I didn't do anything particular to wake up, but the sloth and dullness must have just run its course. There are two sort of questions. One, is this the proper way to deal with dullness? I didn't quite understand in your Dhamma talk today what the advice was. Recognize that sleepiness or dullness is a result of mindfulness practice. Don't be discouraged or antagonistic towards it. And then what?
Another way, same thing we can put. Whenever you be face to face with your primary object, you must have your attitude to see it is evolution. It's changing to the gross to the subtle, liking to dislike, closer to the far, in and out. Like there are a lot of facets. So in samatha meditation, we try to keep the object as if it is permanent. But in vipassana, you not only take it as a pivotal point for you to keep the mindfulness intact, but meanwhile you see the evolution, you see the metamorphosis, you see the changing nature, one to the other. So to see the gross object, gross breath become medium and medium breath becomes subtle. Whenever you go towards the subtlety, it demands more and more mindfulness. That mindfulness must be very steadfast. It must be ready with. So in order to mobilize this mindfulness, there is a kind of energy, not for the beginner's energy, it's a sustaining sustaining kind of energy you must have, that is not much really the heating power of the energy, but the wisdom power. You wisely have to understand now object is becoming subtle, and you have to give more precise, more sustaining kind of mindfulness. And when it happens, the sloth and torpor is the indicator. If you are unsuccessful, sloth and torpor will grow. If you are successful, you can see through the sloth and torpor, but this indicates completely different event. After a while, naturally you become a bright, wide screen full of energy, no sloth and torpor. It is not a gradual process, it is something happens. But when you continue, you will understand how to master the situation, how to monitor the situation with respect to the changes of your primary object. And whenever you become unsuccessful, sloth and torpor come and take over. Whenever you become successful, you can see through the sloth and torpor, whereby you can see your energy also evolving, your mindfulness also evolving, your faith also evolving, and the object itself is evolving. So therefore it says that not the changing of the object that indicate your mind also changing. That means jnatancha jnanancha ubhopi vipassati. When the object becomes subtle, that means your mind becomes subtle. So there you have to understand the object indicate your mind. If the object is gross, mind is gross. If the object is medium, mind is medium. If the object is subtle, mind is subtle. So if you are following it and ready to accept this changing nature, it is open-minded. You are ready for anything. So less and less chances for the sloth and torpor to creep in. So go prepared. That go preparedness is the gist of it. This is the way we can put into as an instruction. So go prepared for the changes of the object, and each time when it is going there, you have to understand, to follow, you must be more and more steadfast. This is called sati becomes satipatthana. Satipatthana means well anchored and well founded. So whenever Jnanaponika put it in 3 stages, you get the bare attention, and then the mindfulness, and mindfulness, steadfast mindfulness. So that evolution is really opposite of the sloth and torpor. The day you know as when it is happening, the day you know as, look at from your meditation as a third person, it is really hilarious, it is really energizing.
The second part is, Bhante, once the dullness period passed, I was able to aware of the breath becoming subtle to the point of not feeling it anymore. At this point, I became confused as to where to direct the mindfulness. I tried to simply to be aware of there not being a sensation of breath anymore, but this was too slippery. I tried reciting the mantra Buddho continuously just to have something to having mindfulness on. But it felt too forced, like I was gripping the Buddha somewhat desperately. I felt like there was a bright light, but it was more like a screen, not a clear, localized image, so found it difficult to focus on that too. So I ended up drifting into thoughts. What would you advise I do or not do at this point when the breath disappears? Thank you very much, Bhante.
So when the breath disappears, your egocentrism disappears, your conceit disappears, your desire, craving disappears. The rational mind comes and says, hey, be careful, now it is everything gone, please let myself to come, I to come. So you are giving all facilities, the egocentrism to come back and start something. The Buddha's sole aim is to nullify your egocentric thinking, your conceited thinking and desire. So whenever that happens, you feel fearful, you feel uncertain, you feel boundless, and their rational mind comes and says, there's nothing to meditate upon. So where is me? Where is I? Where is egocentrism? So it is creating either forced breathing, or you feel like open your eyes and see whether all the 32 parts are here before going back home, or fall into sleep. These are the 3 traps available. So that means that your ego is now about to dissolve off. So it is fearful. It is uncertain. It is unexpected. So therefore your rational mind come and some or the other do welding work and make ego, please come back and reinstall it. And then onward you feel, yes, finished. Because again, you back to your ego. So how many times you have to do it again and see how the rational mind come in rescue of this disappearing ego. And in the essay, when you are writing, exactly you can see the grammar, the kind of grammar you are using in each and every sentence. I find nothing to meditate upon. I. Each and every sentence is start with I. The single term, single letter word. And you can see how crafty, how cheating and how perverted it is happening, and ultimately how in a idiot way, in a foolish way, the meditator is facilitating the disappearing I, giving saline and all the massaging work or maybe some welding work and some or the other reshape the I, then you feel relaxed like. So understand it. There is no other way, only this trial and error. When the object is disappearing, see, mindfulness can thrive, can exist, can pervade under 2 conditions. One thing is with object and without object. So our rational mind thinks, no, how can that be? How the mindfulness can live without an object? So whenever Jnananda used to say, about 200, maybe 10 years ago, no one expected, no one imagined iron vehicle can fly before the oval right and Wilbert right. And when they are trying, everyone told they are mad, they are not right. But after 200 years, now we know the iron, this thing can run along the ground with the substrate of earth and it can be airborne. When it's aerodynamics, it is depending on, sustaining on, holding on nothing like. So whenever the plane is about to take off, you feel shivering like. So exactly in the meditation also, when it's about to be airborne, the ego becomes shivering. Rational mind come in rescue and reinstall the ego, then you are again landing the plane. But that joke you can't do in the normal way, because if you are not taking off, you are at the end of the runway, then you are falling down onto the sea or something like that. That is what happened in the meditation also. You are always thinking mindfulness cannot live, thrive, exist without an object. The Buddha says, Arammana, Anarammana is the concentration, sunyata, appanihita, animitta. There are 3 kinds of concentration. Animitta concentration means the concentration is there is no nimitta, no object, no pivotal point. So that kind of a concentration will be backed only by animitta mindfulness, animitta sati. So this is the way you exceed your rational mind, you exceed your convention, and be ready. Don't let the mind to come and rescue or reinstall the ego or conceit or desire. Just let it happen. It says in Zen saying, all frog jump into the pond, the frog jump into the old pond, plop. No rationality. So you have to go prepared to give up all thinking, give up all reasoning, give up all this linear kind of thing. Just let it happen. So you must be healthy mentally, healthy physically. Otherwise you can understand if you are not prepared in the physical and mental fair health situation, what a kind of uncertainty happens. So therefore you must day by day preparing, day by day you go prepared to whenever such a thing happen, not let the rational mind to take place, then the mindfulness to take the help. Or this is a kind of rehearsal of your death. Sorry to say in this late night.
May I say something? This question seems to be very relevant to all of us. May I please give the opportunity just to the person who raised the question, just to ask one more question?
So that may be the first thing after the reading question.
Okay. So this question, who has raised this
You
question?
have to talk to the mic, please.
Sorry, we'll have the first opportunity to raise the question if has any comments or questions.
I doubt whether he is the person who wrote the question.
Not me, but this was given to me personally when I right at the end. So I know who the person who wrote this question.
That is the bad thing.
It's a very relevant question to all of us, I think. Thank you, Bhante.
Yes.
Dear Bhante, my posture is sitting. My primary object of meditation is in and out breath. In a good session, I note the breath vanishes after some time and I am aware of the peace. Even though there are occasional sounds and thoughts, the underlying peace is not disturbed. Even though there are occasional sounds and thoughts, the underlying peace is not disturbed. I don't get attached to or hate the sounds or the thoughts. However, I feel like I am attached to the deep down peace. I enjoy and love being there. And if I am not disturbed by a sudden unexpected act, example turning on the room light, or someone touching me, or if I know I have to be somewhere at a certain time, example lunchtime, I can stay there for a long periods of time. I only note this peace when I sit to meditate. My questions are 3 questions, Bhante. Is it okay to get attached to this peace?
Yeah, as far as you know, distractions are not being hated. That means your attraction is not so violent, not so bad. If you have any kind of a hate to the distraction, that means so much so you love the peaceful situation. If you know that distractions are coming, I have no particular hate towards the distraction, that means this attachment is not so questionable.
Number 2, would I be able to maintain this peace in the normal day-to-day life? How could I do that?
It starts next in the walking meditation. In the sitting is doing nothing and passive breath is disappearing. In walking meditation you do one thing, that's willful walking, and whenever you are to observe the walking happen effortlessly, walking happen automatically, then you have to facilitate it. And when that is happening, you can see the robo-like body is walking. You can get aside and see it's walking perfectly. There's no noting, there's no regimenting. And there you can see somewhat similar experience. Things are happening, you are a mere distance observer, and things are perfectly happening. Or in other words, we can say, Your real walking meditation starts whenever you start effortless walking. Till that you do something, till that you regiment it, till that you monitor it, no problem. Later when it's happening, things are happening as such, you can understand on the Mother Earth, you are walking and you feel contented. You are utterly solitude. And when you go further, when you are brushing your teeth, let the body to do it. Maybe you are in front of a mirror and see how nicely it is doing. And give the plate of rice or plate of food and see how the body is eating it. And go and sit on the toilet and you can see urination and defecation. How nicely it is happening without you. That each and every time is a kind of a opening to the sitting experience. Things are happening completely by its own accord, or we can say cause and effect relationship, and you get a observer's status and observe it. And later you will understand so much of things in our life we are doing in a routine way. Each and every time is a nice openings, windows, for you to let the body to do by its own body knowledge. And ultimately you find it is asking only very little amount of interference with the ego or conceit or the desire, and let the life to live. So therefore once many people start this experience in sitting and let it flow, cascade down to the walking, brushing, all the kind of thing, and slowly you will entertain your each and every action. Because it is so aesthetic, it's so lovable. The body is happening if your bloody foolishness is not there. That means not interfering. Just like you are a baby. Again you become a baby-like psychology, not childish, but child-like psychology.
Number 2 is
finished.
I think number 2 finished, yeah. Number 3, until yesterday when you gave the example of a sound of a bell, I did not understand what you meant by antimatter. I realized that I have been listening to the silence for a long time now. Even day-to-day lifetimes, I can listen to the silence. In my mind, in my meditation, when I come to the state where I note the peace, I listen to a noise and sound very carefully to note and identify silence. Is it good to listen to the silence and notice the absence of thoughts, to specifically note it when meditating? Much metta.
If you understand the domain of silence, not that there are no thoughts, not that there are no sounds, not that there are no pains, but they are at the very peripheral level and they can't do much of a thing, and you are verily aware, but in the middle, huge space, and you can happily, either may be sound or silence or the light or lightness or whatever may be, but not that objects are not there, but they are not, you are not worried about them. You know how to select the comfort zone. You live in the comfort zone. Let them be there. So therefore, whenever you learn the art of being in the comfort zone, not that world becomes peaceful, not that world is free of troubles, but you know how to maintain your stream of consciousness without getting troubled. So that is like you have a good shock absorber in your vehicle. Even the road is little bit rugged and a bit pothole or pithole, I don't know the proper term. Pithole. Pothole. So it takes a shock. So the passengers get the less amount of shocks. So your mindfulness becomes a good suspension, good shock absorber. And if you develop it, not only you, your whole family members get the benefit. It's become contagious. let the troubles be there, but don't troubles till troubles you. But we are on the other side, we are like the sticky thing, collecting troubles. It says if you keep a wet slice of bread, it sucks all the germs in the atmosphere and become rotten. But if you toast it and keep it, it live long. Even the atmosphere is full of germs, it never hold it. So it's dry. So the meditation also something. People are so addicted to absorb troubles. They can't live without attention. They can't live without frustration. There's one person called Muji. If you can go to the YouTube, you can listen to him. He says, people are coming to me. I am not a meditation master. I am just a commoner. People come and say, I have so much of frustration and tension and kind of thing. I used to say, frustration and tension can't live with your mind, but your mind can live without frustration and tension. Please leave me the frustration and leave. You go. No one leave it. They are taking them and go back. Because they love. Their whole life is excuse. Their whole life is asking compassion. Their whole life is asking the attention. So they must have this frustration. So you have to understand, frustration cannot live without the mind. But the mind, your psychology can live without frustration. So it is like a drop of water on a petal of a lotus. The bubble is there but not smearing. When the wind happens, it drops off. So the water is on the petal of the lotus, but it's not touching. Drop off. So likewise, let the troubles come. Don't worry. Your main thing is not to worry. So when you are learning this art, there's a very nice epithet or a example given. The Buddha, the day before he sees full enlightenment, he saw 4 dreams. In one dream, he was walking on the mountain of shit. Nothing smearing. Asuchi Kanda is walking upon, it's well, much assured, it's not smearing, it's not touchy. So it's a kind of a happiness. Troubles are there, the shit is there, everything is there, but you are not touching. So this is a kind of a shock absorber you have to buy at any cost.
Next question is, Dear Bhante, my posture is sitting. My primary object of meditation is rising and falling of breath. In a good session, I note and experience the primary object as rising and falling of breath. My concern is I am following Sayadaw Mahasi method of noting rising and falling of secondary object such as thoughts, pain, sound when they arise. Yesterday you mentioned that if the thoughts or distractions do not cause disturbance, we should not note it. We should only note if the mind has been distracted and is with the secondary object. On this, are you also referring to the noting of rising and falling of secondary object? And hence, if the thoughts, pain or sound do not cause us to distract from the primary object, we do not need to note the rising and falling of the secondary object. Thank you and with much gratitude, Bhante.
So when I was in Panditarama, there's one question. The translator has to translate that into Burmese and Sayadaw take notice in Burmese, and then he gave the Burmese answer and the translator is translating. The question was, when I am meditating, I get background thoughts and the foreground thoughts. And still, I know I am with the rising and falling. And so what is my relationship with the background thoughts and the foreground thoughts? Translator, some of the translator and Sayadaw got it that what is it, bloody background thoughts and foreground thoughts, I don't know. So again the questionnaire, the person started and told that thoughts are there, it is no problem, they are inner thoughts, they are background thoughts or foreground thoughts, and I am very well with the primary object. And the way the Sayadaw explained, and there was one Singaporean sitting behind me, and he wrote everything and put into the website. If you go to the Panditarama website, you can see the noting, labeling and knowing and inner thoughts. Many thoughts are inert, unless otherwise you go and tackle with them. Very easily we can say background thought. And next, related to this question is, if you read the book Thought Without a Thinker by Mark Epstein, he developed this model further. He says if you are not meditating, you do not know we are thinking or these thoughts are happening. I will put it in the other way for you to make it clear. Whether you see or whether look. You can look and see, or without looking you can see. Active and passive. Hearing and listening. Likewise thinking and thoughts. So if you are not mindful, all thought you consider as thinking. This is the way our whole life is full of frustration. But 98% may be just thought without a thinker. Ultimately, you take the responsibility of all and you suffer throughout the day. I remember one day in Perth, in this hall, I take an example. I told, when a happily married couple, when the wife is going to give children, father is always thinking, this is my child. And they sign in the cage, I am the father, but the wife knows whose child. Father is very proud to sign each and every child, but it's a joke. So exactly like our mind produces so much of illegal children. So we are taking the responsibility of each and everyone and not enough time to be worried. So because you are not mindful whether it's a thought or a thinking. So the day you understand the passive voice and active voice, I am not a grammarian, I am sorry, I am not even in singular, but it's a very practical. What you do and what is happening, thoughts are the most camouflage and conceit and misleading you. So let the thoughts happen, to see whether it's an inner thought or something you think. Hardly any. So therefore observe sounds, observe pains, observe thoughts. And in the midst of everything, if you can maintain mindfulness with your primary object, I would say maintaining mindfulness with primary object without distraction, when compared to the maintaining mindfulness with distraction, the second mindfulness is more efficient, more skillful. As if you are driving in a busy street without an accident, when compared with the driving a vehicle without other vehicle without accident. So this is the way the Buddha put it in a practical way. Let all the things are there, sounds, thoughts and kind of thing. Mind your own business. Be mindful with your primary object. Each time you are going to note them, you are inviting them to come in. You are the one asking for trouble. So therefore noting must be very skillful, and of course at the beginning you may not be so precise, but later you will understand the noting, it has a specific time and it attributes are specific to one particular episode. Later you can do away with noting, not only the secondary object, even the primary object. So this is the way you learn. You use the noting as a tool, but in a skillful way.
Next one, Bhante. Dear Bhante, my posture is sitting and my primary object is the in and out breath. In a good meditation session, I am able to quickly notice if my mind wanders and could focus on the breath easily. Recently, I noticed that after a few minutes, my breath became very shallow, and I find my mind wanders when this happens. Eventually, I realize this and bring my attention back and involuntarily take a deep breath, within brackets, though it also feels forced, disruptive. And the process starts anew. Do you have any thoughts or suggestions? Thank you.
So if you can imagine a bed spring, it's the bottom round is very big, and then slowly it is curving and come up to the pinnacle. So likewise, if you put the bed spring in the horizontal way, when you are meditating, you can see the breath take a long cycle, very gross to the very subtle. And again it becomes gross and again subtle, very big round. But instead, if you take the progressing part, it is going few cycles. Naturally breath becomes gross, naturally breath becomes subtle. Naturally breath becomes gross, naturally breath becomes subtle. It starts its evolution. Each time it becomes gross, it is less grosser than the last time, the pitch, the amplitude. And it is reducing and going. When it is come up to that kind of repetitive cycles only, you can understand it is happening utterly with cause and effect relationship. Your egotistic contribution, your regimentation, monitoring not necessary. But you must observe it when you let the things to happen, it's always calm down. Unless, otherwise, you fork your fingers. So therefore, at the first round, it takes a long time for you to understand, amidst of the sounds and the thoughts and the pains, how to look at the breath and see its evolution, and it is become gross and again subtle, again become gross, again subtle. So you feel like a long breath as if you do voluntarily. No, it is involuntarily happening. See a baby, when he or she is sleeping, all of a sudden occasionally it comes with a long breath and again calm down. And again the long breath and calm down. That's the way you go to the deep layers. So therefore, anyone who experiences this medium and subtle breath, let that episode to finished and you see again the breath become gross naturally. It is not a mistake of your mindfulness. It is not a mistake of your concentration. It is not a sign of your lack of morality. No. From nothingness, the breath arises. From breath, the nothingness arises. They are reciprocal each other. So if you are observing it, it will show. And if you know the art of non-reaction, non-coercive observation, then it takes the bed spring kind of a movement, and slowly it goes there, and more number of times you can see arising the breath and again dissipating, again arising, again dissipating, and slowly you can see another dimension. It goes to a very deep layers of calmness, and when that happens, all the sounds, all the thoughts, all the pains, they are also follow suit. They also become subtle and subtle. It says, if you are patient enough, Nibbana is very close by. If you are crafty, if you are manipulating, if you are regimenting, so much so, you disturb this natural unfolding.
Next one, Bhante. Dear Bhante, my posture is sitting. Primary object, watch the breathing. In a good session, I am pain-free. No tension in the mind, and the breathing appears gently. My concern is, back in Sri Lanka, I used to have body spasm, jerking at the legs and it can really disturb the meditation. Since I got back to Australia, it happens less, but I still have it from time to time. Sometimes I sit and it goes away. In the past, usually like that. But now it seems to happen regardless of how peaceful the mind is, and seems to get worse the more I sit, because it comes suddenly, so nothing to observe until it suddenly comes and moves my whole body and disturb the meditation. Sometimes I feel agitated when it happens. Please advise.
So that this kind of a jerks, I don't know, the letter won't indicate whether Sri Lanka is good or Australia is good. It's confusing. Whatever may be, so when it happens, as far as he or she knows, occasionally it come and disturb you kind of thing, let that episode to take place completion, without your value judgment, without your reaction. The day, if you can see one cycle, how that kind of a jerks and spasm happen and ceases to exist. And it need no any kind of a secondary medicine, no kind of thing. Only thing is you are not allowing it to happen in a complete cycle. And after a while you can see there may be some other reason, but anyway, the way it starts, it ceases off without any secondary involvement. So let it happen. It's a kind of a catharsis, kind of a pent-up energy is going. Each time it goes, healing happens. Next time it is not come up to that much of a peak, slowly reducing. So let it go off, the catharsis to take place, and ultimately you may find that is happening without your intention, and it ceases to exist without your intention, just like one early letter mentioned that sleepiness happens, all of a sudden all the sleepiness goes, the bright, stark vigilance comes. Likewise you can understand these kind of things are going off, and that is a way of healing. It is called Dhamma therapy. In Maha system, there is a book, Dhamma therapy. That kind of thing happen. Wherever the world, they accumulated them and published a book. When such a thing happen, your pent-up energy is released. Not utterly, completely by one spasm. It's a number of ways it happens. So way you have to behave is, let that thing happen to the utmost completion without interfering halfway. So when you are living in a group meditation, it may be sometimes distracting to the group or to you. So knowing that you have to take time and let that pent-up energy to go off like a catharsis, and it's a healing process.
There is a second part to the question. Question 2. My character has more ill will, more than greed. So I know that metta is an antidote to ill will. But how to practice and cultivate metta? I only sit and watch breathing, or walk and watch my steps. Please advise how to incorporate metta in my sitting and walking meditation. Thank you, with gratitude.
So see this anger-eating monster again, and after the bombing or attack to the World Trade Center, there was a conference in Mind and Life organization, and they understood destructive emotions. And they understood 7 destructive emotions. I think one thing is on anger. It's been written by Mark, I can't remember the author. Eckhart, no. Destructive emotion, where the anger, I can't remember. He says, he give a preface. He says, may I not angry with my anger ever. So this is the what you call this anger-eating monster. Whenever the anger happens, let it happen. It is in a catharsis, it is going to go. Don't suppress it. Understand, it is coming out of blue, not where you are not have any will. But you have to understand, in a deep level, each will is evil. That's what the Arthur Schopenhauer explained in the philosophy, in the German language, each will is evil. Whenever you sit and do no volitional activity, when you do no any willful action, that is the depth you can understand, no ill will. So people are very disturbed to listen, each will is evil. But the Buddha says, Sabbhe sankhara dukkha. Sabbhe sankhara anicca. Sankhara means will. Sabbhe sankhara anicca, sabbhe sankhara dukkha. So whatever the willful action you do, you accumulate karmic forces. Half of it is ill will. So see how many thought moments you are living the life without will, without a volition. And you can't live the whole day, sure. But see how many thought moments, how many breaths, how many steps you can do effortlessly. Yeah, this peace of mind is there. So start somewhere and increase it without putting the ill, with the will. And in the Dutiya Chetana Sutta or the first Chetana Sutta, both of them are in the Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha says, when there is no objects, when there is no problem, then yacha chetana, yancha pattana, yacha pakappana. Your all chetanas naturally come, like they are taking the vacuum. And your future planning and your thinking which naturally come. It appears like your intrinsic nature. It is your intrinsic egotistic feature, and remove as much as object and see what is coming. That is the way you can understand who am I. Not in the external, your body or your social behavior or what is your character certificate, nothing. But when there is nothing, when there is no even breath, there is no noting, and you utterly you are utterly mindful, you don't know upon what. And there you can understand they are happening. So the Buddha, he says, when someone is meditating and he or she can't see an object, but utterly knows that I am mindful, and consider this the supreme, and continue, when it is happening, humans can't understand, but the Deva and Brahma come and worship that particular person. Namo te purisa janya, namo te purisuttama, yatta se rabhijanami, yampi nissaya jayati. I pay my salute to this particular heroic person, this true man, because he do not know upon what he is meditating upon. That's the supreme. As far as you know your object, it is still inferior. You have to go to the end, and then to the end of will, end of volitional activity, end of manipulations. I think that is what we call 100% living. As far as you are manipulating, there is a kind of a conceit. There is a kind of the egocentrism. There is a kind of a desire. So don't take it into grant, telling that whole day you can live with that. No. What I am telling is, even a split second, or even one breath, or even one left and right, let it happen completely without any will, and observe it utterly vigilant, utterly diligent, and see things are happening. That is what you call the cause and effect relationship. No me, no mine, no myself. And whenever you see the Buddha, he is seeing cause and effect relationship is seeing Dhamma. Whenever you see Dhamma, you see Buddha. So if you wish to see the Buddha, let the thing happen. That is what you call Taoism. The natural flow, it happens. You withdraw as much as possible. You disavow, disclaim, things are happening. Under such circumstances, let the ill will to come. Unless otherwise it is catharsis happen, it may be carcinogenic. It can go and accumulate and create diseases. And psychiatrists, they know all the mental diseases are due to ill will. In Sinhala it is called asthana kopa. Irrational kind of ill will. It's not a particular person, no event, but ill will is there. Let it happen. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Catharsis happen. Sometimes it may be uncontrollable, which part I don't know, I'm not a master. But in meditation, this is what you call metta bhavana. You let these things to ooze out. And each and every thought moment you live with your primary object without a desire or without kind of thing, it's utmost metta, utmost loving kindness. So not only to you, you are creating loving kindness to the whole earth. The earth will become cooler and pollution will be reduced. The internal pollution also will be reduced. So therefore more and more you live with mindfulness without a will, I would say the effortless way. This is the way to understand the other side of the ill will. And even the ill will happen, don't suppress it. Just let it come and surface and understand if you are going to die with this, definitely it will attract you to some kind of a very lowly realm rather than letting it come now and get healed. But it must be very natural process. Don't try to accelerate it.
Dear Bhante, my primary object is posture. During sitting meditation, I also feel the breath as calm, smooth, long flowing, which I can sense the momentary gaps. I once or twice also experienced long-lasting, up to 5 minutes or so gap. Today I managed to deal with usually unbearable pain in one of the foots by careful observation of the body of the breath. Also I managed to see the end of pain at the back where the body weight is applied on the cushion. My question is, should I come back to breath after the problem of pain is over, or should I continue with the posture? Much merits to you, Bhante.
No, the question is not clear. It says, should I come back to the breath or should I be with the posture? Both are the same. That is both called the Kayanupassana. Breath also part and parcel of your body. Sitting posture also part and parcel of the body. Or you can say, should I see the system or should I look at one particular aspect of the body? Both are the same. And I will tell you, you have no choice. Be with what is available.
That was the end of sitting meditation questions, Bhante. This is on daily activities. Dear Venerable Bhante, I use the body form as a primary object in daily activities and in my sitting meditation with emphasis on defilements and papancha. Over these last 2 years, there has been mindfulness of the body process and the mind process as if witnessing from outside the process. The mind and the body do their own thing without a self getting involved. The defilement still appears and disappears, but less intensively. It is progressively getting better. During the day, mindfulness is becoming a default. During the day, the mindfulness is becoming a default position at times. I am concerned that there is a tendency to social isolation and conversation with small talk is difficult as nothing much comes to mind to say. Am I on the right track? And any comments or guidance would be much appreciated. Wish you good health and success in your Dhamma endeavors this year. Thank you.
So as far as you are, at the early part of the letter it says, I am concerned about the defilements and papancha. You are a very successful IT person, media person. That is what they do. Media people is always collecting defilements and papancha. And that's the biggest hot thing you can say. So Buddha says, Subha paramaham bhikkhave metta ceto vimutting vadami idapanyasa puggalo uttaring appata vijjandas. That is in Metta Sahagata Sutta, in Samyutta Nikaya, see only the good love spots. Don't look at these defilements. That means you are promoting defilements. And prapancha means you are sending the mind mad. Be aware the simple, honest, straightforward mindfulness. Then others will be dealt. Never. It's asking us to specialize on the defilement because you are promoting it. So therefore, the Subha Metta Sahagata Sutta, it's explaining the metta in such a dramatic way. As far as you are mindful, as far as you mind your own business, that's the biggest metta. But instead what happens is many people, many yogis, and specifically only Buddhists, they are concerned about defilements. They are concerned about the papancha, so they are fertilizing. So therefore, what you do, that you are. So therefore, don't do any kind of defilements. Just see how many thought moments you can be with your bodily posture, or mindful, or simple, or straightforward, and naturally you can see, after a long time, defilements are naturally dwindle off. So don't try to tackle them, and instead see how many thought moments of mindfulness on the posture you can increase. That is called Subha Paramaha. Subha Parama means only see the love spots. Only see the good side of the picture. Or we can say, you must try to find a reason to be glad under any circumstances. Don't look at the dark cloud, but see the silver line in the dark cloud. Then I would say, even you are not enlightened, you get the full benefit package of enlightenment. Because you only see the good side.
Next question is on the Dhamma talk, Bhante. Dear Bhante, could you kindly briefly recap what steps 1 to 4 were in yesterday's Dhamma talk? I especially could not catch up step 4. Thank you very much. Also, could you tell us the source, example, sutta number of these 4 steps? Thank you.
I can't remember what 4 numbers. Without giving a clue, I can't help. So what aspect of it, because there are a number of 4s. So please give me a clue about at least enumerating 1 or 2, then I can understand the stages.
I think at the end of these questions, you will get the opportunity to give 1, 2 and 3. Whoever who wrote the question. Number 13 is on general Dhamma.
Wrong number, bad number.
Number 13. Dear Venerable Dhammajiva, is it necessary to have jhanas for stream winning and enlightenment? Are there jhanas in vipassana meditation? Thank you.
This is quite involved discussion in the jhana grove, and I can quote 2 places. Visuddhimagga, you know the path of purification. In the commentary to Visuddhimagga it says there are 17 exits to Nibbana, 8 jhanas. They have access concentration and the absorb concentration. So first jhana and its access concentration, second jhana access concentration and the absorb concentration. So the commentary it says Saupachara Atta Samapatti, including the access concentration, all the 8 jhanas are exits to go to Nibbana. So even the access concentration is enough. So that is the point Mahasi Sayadaw explore, and he says even the commentators are accepting. So nowadays it is being questioned. They say not even the first jhana, some people say the second jhana, some other masters are saying fourth jhana. Also likewise it is changing. That is how the different teachings, different methodologies, different masters came into being. And the other one is, regarding the Vipassana jhana, if you read the Venerable the Sayadaw, Pandita Sayadaw's book, In This Life Itself, it's the first time he put in detail Vipassana jhana. And some people may not accept it, but you can see, compare it with your experience, and sometimes it's very parallel with your experience. So these are the two sources I can come out with as an answer to this question, please.
This is the last of the question. And dear Venerable Bhante, this is a general question. I have been meditating and respectfully followed Buddhist teaching for 15 years. I have always appreciated the teaching and practice meditation. This is my first retreat. I enjoyed and appreciate my time here as well as Bhante's and everyone's. However, yesterday night I suddenly hated everything. I was angry with everyone, and my mind was thinking maybe Buddha got it wrong. This morning I woke up. I am fine. The hatred is gone. My concern is, have I accumulated bad karma in doubting Buddha, and will this be a hindrance in my future practice? Thanks, and with much gratitude, Venerable Bhante.
If you do it volitionally, consciously, then it comes into your karmic forces, but is something happening. It's just Dhammata. You have to go back and see whether you are thinking in that way or if something happened to you. If it's something happened, you have no any responsibility, you have no any commitment. So very difficult to put into any slips. So don't do it. Don't do for any person, not only the Buddha, even the ants on the ground, don't hate. If it is happening, sorry. But it is not accruing any karmic forces, as far as it is not volitional.
Though that was the last question, there is a general, which I call request on restrainment. Please, a reminder that we have such a limited, precise time doing spiritual practice with Venerable Bhante, and to respect each other's silence and maintain custody of the eyes, especially with others of the opposite sex. Please, let's support each other in diligent spiritual practice, and so we can do our very best here on retreat in meditation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I kept to the last. So this is the opportunity to raise questions. Perhaps two of the questions were from Venerables. Maybe we should give them the opportunity first.
No, if there is no question from them,
yes, then
so
we'll go
we can
to the
open,
others.
We can say we have, now it is 3 minutes, and we have about 25 minutes if anyone wish to raise question. We are not promoting questions.
We are not.
But Anand is always promoting. So all the blames that over time goes to the Ananda's account.
Exactly. I am the richest.
So if it is available, so we can take it. Not pinpointing someone.
The mic. Harini is here.
Thank you for answering the questions, Bhante. May I just ask a follow-up to your point that when the object becomes more subtle, and you said you should sort of increase the mindfulness to keep up with it. How do you do that? Is it just sort of you sort of try to instruct your mind, okay, be more mindful? But when one is in the condition of sloth and torpor, there is no mindfulness. So then how do you make that happen?
2 points: go prepared, and the second thing is appreciate it. By appreciating the settling down is good thing. It's a progress in my meditation. It's less and less defilements. So it's a kind of a catalytic effect to the mind. Another thing is go prepared. If you are not prepared, the sloth and torpor can creep in. So therefore these two aspects.
What do you mean by go prepared?
So once it happened to you, so you are one step ahead. So next time you can understand, whenever the object becomes subtle, and we have more association and more face-to-face, then it's a chance there is for sloth and torpor to creep in. So be aware. It is like when you are going to a deep area where there is a contagious disease, you take a vaccine, and once vaccine taken, even if you go there, you have antibodies, so there is no infection. So likewise, now you have to understand, I am going to go to a vulnerable area, go prepared. That preparedness is the what called appamada or diligence.
And the second question is, I'm having a hard time remembering what my questions are. The second question was related to the other point that you made about, I can't remember, 1 second. Oh, I think it was when you said that mindfulness can thrive without an object. But I noticed that when there isn't a clear object, it's easy for the mind to just slip off into either dullness or slip off into some thought. So even though it can thrive, how do you train your mind to be able to keep the mindfulness up when there is no clear object?
So first and foremost, you have to be mindful with the gross object. And with that, when you are practicing, don't worry even the object becomes subtle or even be aggravated. So be openness, and while it is becoming subtle, still you can check, even though object is subtle, the mindfulness is steadfast. And that kind of a cross-check, or that's an inferential knowledge. And when the object becomes still subtle, to see, are you attributing the subtlety of the object to a lack of mindfulness or lack of concentration or lack of moral restraint, or without doubting, you just keep and see the continuity of the mindfulness. If it is so, you are preparing less and less grossness of the object, still you can see the continuity of the mindfulness is undisturbed. And it is happening today you will go to the 30%, next day you go to the 29%, next day you go to the 28%, like you learn yourself to go into the subtle object. For example, if you are gong, singing bowl, how long you can trace the disappearing sound. That's what the commentator says. When you gong the bell, you are listening the sound, and where is the sound and silence change into. And knowing that, if you can go another gong, then you can see next time you go prepared, still you can see the sound is happening. Recently I found a mindful game. It says, let the children to listen to this singing bowl and give 2-3 times, and each time, if they are attentive to see the end of the end of the sound, their sensitivity increasing. Ask the children to see how many breaths they can take before the end of the sounds. It's a little complicated for the children to do. And ultimately you can see you are tracing and going further and further. And still mindfulness is intact, and you will see less and less the sub-object, the grossness, the mindfulness is very vigilant, very powerful. And that only you can do by your own experience, not by reading, not by other believing, not by teacher's blessing or nothing. You have to keep on doing. While doing, you are tracing very subtle. I am taking the sound as an example, even the breath. And later you will understand at the end of each out-breath there's nothingness is there. Our mind is always skipping that. That is what you call tanha. Each and every breath end up with nothingness. But we never see, unless otherwise the Buddha come and teach you. Then only you trace, the breath is not to see the characteristic of the Vayo Dhatu. The breath is to see the end of the breath, the disappearance of the breath. And the day you trace the disappearance of the breath, easily you can understand the disappearance of if you are taking the rising and falling, the falling. Imagine taking this materialistic object into the immaterial thing, something like a lust, something like a hate, something like a sleepiness. And if you are to see the disappearance of the lust, the disappearance of the hate, the disappearance of the sleepiness, anything, when it is disappearing, exactly the same taste, liberation, emancipation. This is the what we miss. This is the bus we miss. In day-to-day activities, when before something disappears, we expect next thing to happen. So therefore we never see the tail end. So more and more you go there, that becomes the truth, third truth. Nirodha Satya. See the emancipation. Then only you know what to do, and then only you can understand Noble Eightfold Path, because now you know where to look into. But otherwise you are looking into the breath. You consider breath as the Nibbana, no. The disappearance of the breath, or disappearance of the rising and falling, or disappearance of anything, sound or anything, then the day you learn the art, you can see the normal civilized world consider this as the death or bad omen. They hate it. They only appreciate a rising part, samudaya, not the vaya. So moment you become spiritual, you don't worry about the samudaya, the rising part, you try to see the disappearing side, and everywhere the nibbana. Everywhere liberation. Because you can understand how much you are hating, you have phobia to see the disappearing side. So this is the way promoting it says mindfulness is much skillful and efficient whenever it sees, whenever trained on the disappearing side of the object and to live without an object.
Thank you.
Back first.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I have the mic. Can I just give the clue for the 4 steps question? Because I also asked that one. As far as I remember, which could be wrong, step 1 was noticing when your mind has slipped off the primary object.
This is, you mean, the coming back to primary object. There is the 4 stages.
Go back, right. And then step 2 was not judging the fact that it has slipped off. And step 3 was...
The previous day we answered the same question. So we will get the confirmation. If it is so, I can repeat it. Get the confirmation from the person who has written the question. This is your question. 4 stages. No, 4 stages. She supposes she thinks, but we will wait for the person to write.
I asked that question.
You?
Yes, so I just wanted to...
That is day before, same question happened. The particular person asked, Sarati, Vivarati, Uttani Karoti, and what is the 4th? 4th is Deseti. Sarati means you know you are in the wrong side. Vivarati is you are not hiding it, you are open. And Uttani Karoti, you become happy. And the 4th one is you have to tell someone, you have to report someone. Then only you get the full marks. So, Sarati, Vivarati, Uttani Karoti, Deseti. Basically it appears in the commentary to the Vinaya Katha in the Samantapasadika, and later I found in another Sutta Pitaka also, I can't remember exactly the sutta over there, but taking from the Vinaya Katha, that monastic commentary, I can find it for you, 4 stages, but even if it is not authentically mentioned directly by the Buddha to the sutta, I found these 4 stages are so practical. So I will try to get the source.
Thank you very much.
At the back. Yeah, next.
15 minutes more.
15 minutes more. Actually, 14 to be precise. 14 to be precise.
I'll talk fast.
Sorry, there is a video clip in Sinhala. Is it the same thing? Kavi. Video clip in Sinhala once we finish at 9:30.
Yeah.
So Bhante, that movement from mindfulness to unmindfulness, the descent, or descent. Can you hear me okay? Is that coming okay?
Mindfulness to unmindfulness.
Yeah, mindfulness to unmindfulness.
So
okay.
that is you have to trace back.
Yeah, now I've got some questions.
Mindfulness.
I've got some questions I'm going to ask you about that now. So, another way of describing that, I think, is you're really asking, when you go to unmindfulness, that by definition is our shadow. That's the part of us we don't see. Okay? Carl Jung's shadow. Okay? My experience of confronting my shadow, and certainly also when I've observed it professionally, it's the most scariest thing you can ask a human being to do. My experience personally of going into my shadow is absolutely personality disintegration and fear of death, but sometimes I've been able to go into that and to move from form to formlessness, and I get a real sense of dissolving of my sense of self. What comes off in its place is usually a massive amount of expansiveness of space and a massive, massive amount of energy. I was talking to you about my long meditation yesterday, and it went through a lot of the stages that you talked about it, but the last one was this sort of experience. And it has been my experience, as you described, to go into this place, in and out, especially those cycles. I love the way you describe those cycles, because that's absolutely the way it's been for me for many years. So my question is samadhi without a sign the result, or the experience of samadhi without a sign, the result and the end point of this process that we've been talking about with Vipassana, that we end up being, that's the end place, and there is no end place because of the way that the language that we're describing, but it comes naturally. Or are there actually formal practices? Because I've heard that category of meditation is called samadhi without a sign, as opposed to samadhi with a sign, i.e. breath, walking, etc., etc. Are there formal practices that one can do which get one used to a sense of fusing with that nothingness? Or is it something that is the end result of the processes that you've been talking about today?
So it is very difficult to give a linear system, very difficult to give a systematic thing. The example is, think about winning pole vault jump. You are a pole vault jumper, and you take the pole and go to the peak of the pole, and you jettisoning that into the ground and throw the pole, and you put a jump over the bar. So it is, you have to throw your only solace, only the thing, pole, you have to throw. You are throwing in such a way, jettisoning into the ground and jump over the bar. If you touch the bar, finished. If you hold into the pole will touch the bar, you are defeated. So throwing it and jumping is appear like unkindfulness to your pole at the peak of its use. So we human beings are very kindful to the pole. We hold it. And this is the one that allow me to go to the peak. So if it is hold, what happened to if it touches the bar? And other example, this is my modern example. The commentator there says, if you consider this hole as a river, one person running from that end, and it's a different country, different jurisdiction, this is a different country, different king. And that king is set the soldiers to catch the fellow and kill the fellow. So he run. But he can't jump, he can't swim, he do not know what to do, and he see a big water flow or river. He can't wait because that the soldiers are chasing. And he see a branch of a tree coming from here and almost halfway, and there's a vine or creeper falling. So what he do is, come or go Chicago, he jump. And when jump, the creeper is swinging him to the other side. So while swinging here, so hold it very hard at the peak, and you have to leave it. If you are not leaving, what will happen? So that is the devoted Buddhists are doing. They are hold into the creeper. So definitely they will back. And ultimately it balance and fall into the center of the river. That's the end. They consider this as the middle part.
Okay, so the more that you let go of the creeper or the pole at the right time.
I am telling it is electric. It is impromptu. You can't copy.
Okay.
Jump. Frog, jump into the old pond, plop.
Okay, the more you let go of the pole in this way with practice, the more you start to live a life which is filled with spontaneous mindfulness, where there's not a lot of deciding going on in your life. Is that the story?
Yeah, that's a kind of a very novelty, very hilarious, very scouting-like, very radical kind of a thing. If you are not doing it, sorry. If you are doing, you are no more the same person. So this is the peak. Till that the rational mind, the linear system, everything is there. So any person by hearting the formulas and kind of thing, they are the people find very difficult to give it up at the peak. So they hold into their theory. But Pandita Sayadaw says, if you master the theory, you will never become a slave to the theory. You know you have to throw it away. That's a peak of your theory. That means you have confidence. That confidence Buddha can't give you, theory can't give you, practice can't give you. You have to be a frog. Jump into the old pond. Plop.
The implication of what you say there is that a person grows in courage.
It's
to live life.
In a way, faith, in a way, it's encouragement, it's a way, it is the top of your mindfulness, in a way, it's the top of your concentration, in a way, it is the top of your wisdom.
Thank you, Bhante.
Maybe you are Sotapan with it. Can I sign the certificate? Jump. That's all I can say. Don't reverse and see what is happening behind. Jump.
Have a go.
Yeah.
We say in Australia, have a go.
Have a go.
Here, the mic. Just here.
If we haven't got time, I can ask tomorrow.
You have 4 minutes.
Actually, it's not a question, but share an experience of meditation. Since we talked about boredom last night, I was thinking I experienced boredom over maybe more than 2 years. I experimented with it, and I thought, okay, I'll give up meditation, not to be in boredom and that sort of thing. But it never happened that way. Automatically, the meditation or mindfulness comes back, and I'm always doing it. And for 2 years, it had been happening. And yesterday in the afternoon, it was really, really bad boredom. And I thought I should ask Bhante about it. And anyway, he has told me before that boredom is never going to go, but you can stop and see. And I thought, okay, I'll stop for some time, and even yesterday, and it did not do anything. And the mindfulness was coming back over and over again. To say in few words, I was totally mindful all the time. And even though there are sensations coming from all the 6 senses, I'm not actually entertaining them, or they are not actually having a foothold on my mindfulness. So I was wondering, if this goes like this, in other words, I'm actually seeing more than the rising, I'm seeing the passing away of mindfulness. I could call it mindfulness. And I'm actually thinking, if it goes like this, I'm also old person, and in my last breath, is it going to be the same thing that I am going to see the passing away of my mindfulness? Thank you very much.
Passing away of your breath. The Buddha says to the Venerable Rahula, if you train mindfulness to the maximum, charimaka passasampi janatova passati, janatova nirujjanti. Your last breath, release, utterly mindful. You know this is my last breath. You are not worried, you are not agitated. You know it is disappearance. So this is a rehearsal, what we are doing. So, charimaka passasampi janatova nirujjanti. So that's the way you are seen through the death. No, you are not frightening. So this is what I say, that if you can practice the disappearance of the mindfulness, disappearance of the out-breath, disappearance of the falling, disappearance of the hate, disappearance of the lust, whatever may be, exactly the same taste. And when you are continuing, it becomes your second nature. And I think this kind of a boredom is very common for married people. What to do? But in Sri Lanka, udarata kasade, patarata kasade, udarata kasade, very difficult to have a divorce. Patarata kasade, little easier. I don't know the Australian law. So you have to, before marriage, you have to check it whether you are going to go for udarata kasade or patarata kasade. Because definitely you know, Venerable Dhammika told me, whatever the girl you are going to select, it will be a hindrance, or if you are going to be a full-time meditator. So what a fight not to fall with the love with the girl. So it is the Nibbana is easier than that.
If it happens that way in the last breath, and if I'm totally mindful, because I'm being mindful all the time now, so it should be the same, I think so. And if I'm totally mindful of my last breath, and that means my mind is pure, and there's no defilements.
Not the last breath, even the present breath.
Yeah,
Each breath is your last breath.
Yes, I'm thinking about the last breath.
No, don't think. As far as you are thinking, you are not mindful. So be aware the present breath. Present breath is the last breath. So it's a momentary death or conventional death.
Yeah.
So whenever you put into the conventional death, it becomes a big issue. Something like meditation. But if you put in the present breath, it becomes mindfulness. So I am going to try to do away with meditation and take the mindfulness as the tool. Each and every time you are reborn, born again Buddhist. Don't put it to the last minute, then it becomes very emotional, very peak. But each and every breath,
That's the end of. Thank you. It's 9:30, and so we will go to the film now. And
thank you to Ananda.
And those who wish to leave, you may do so. There is no disrespect. And this is in Sinhala.
And poems. If you wish to listen to the rhythm, welcome.
Himidiri pandara sakman karana vita Satya diyunu vi pritiya danuna mata Satyata dunna upamavan vitin vita Kavi sankalpana van vi danuna mata Boleta gasannata dangalana kridakaya avadanayen eya ena pera magaitiya husmata honding avadhanaya yomu karava aramunaka mula madaga mama dutua mula madaga honding aramuna penena vita situvili dekak mada asatiya pamini vita Vayane valang karuwage valata podi Satya namati polu karumo takin bindi Cakrayudaya sayurata gasu Yodaya nila maha Visidasak eteravana turu jalakand viyapama Keles sitivili valata odahati satiyayoma Pahadili niva nei aramuna etana tama Nissaranaye vadahinda Nissaranayata Oba mobayamin sitayomukara sakmanata Paryankaeng vadakelesun nasannata Maha sangaruvana manikak Nisssaranayata
Sri Lankaව මාතුවට තාව රැක ගන්න සංසුන් ගතිය මිනිසුන් තුල ඇතිවන්න සතිපාසැල සංකල්පය ගෙන දෙන්න ආගම් ජාති අතහැර දෙසවන් දෙන්න
සතිපාසැල වෙතින්ගෙන එන පානිවිඩය මෙලසින් කියමි වටගනු පානිවිඩය කෙට ප්‍රීති කරහා කුළුවා ඇති මේ පානිවිඩය කවි කර කියමි වැදගත් මේ පානිවිඩය
පාසල් පියස තුල ඉගෙනුම ලබා දෙන ගුරු භවතුන්ට උව වැදගත් දැනගන්න දරුවන් වන සෑමද මේවට ආගන්න සතිය යනු කුමක් දැයි දැන් බලනු මැන
මගද බසින් සතිය කියා පවසන්නේ සිහිය කියයි එය සියලට පෙරලෙන්නේ කරනා කටයුත්ත සිහියෙන් කරගන්නේ එයටයි සතිය කියලා මේ පවසන්නේ
පමානොවි කටයුතු කරගන්න කරනා දෙය සිහියෙන් කරගන්න සතිමත් දිවියක් ගත කරලන්න මේ කියනා දෙය වටහා ගන්න මේ කියනා දෙය වටහා ගන්න
නිහඬව සමබර වී ඉඳගන්න චංචල සිත නිශ්චල කරගන්න ඉඳ සිටිනා කාය වෙතගෙන එන්න පවතින කාය දෙස සිතින් බලන්න
වනයෙන් ගේනාත් ගාම ගෙදරක බැඳ ඉන්න කුළු ගවයෙකු දෙසට දැන් සිත ගෙන යන්න හැකිවෙද කේරුම් කාවි කර දැන් පවසන්න පළමුව සිතත් එලෙසයි එය දැනගන්න
සතිය තෙයි අපි කෙලෙස දකින්නේ කයේ සැහැල්ලුව සිතට දැනෙන්නේ සතිය නිසයි එය අපට දැනෙන්නේ සතිය ඇතැයි එලෙසයි වැටෙන්නේ සතිය ඇතැයි එලෙසයි වැටෙන්නේ
හිඳිනා විටදී ඔබ ඒ බව දැනගන්න යන එන විටදී ඒකත් ඔබ දැනගන්න කන බොන හාඳින හාඬනා තැන හඳුනන්න එයමයි සතිය ඒ බව තේරුම් ගන්න
පොතපත බලන ලියනා කියවන අයට ජලයෙන් උඩින් පොළවේ ඇවිදින අයට ගොවිකම් වෙදකම්ද එදකම් කළ සැමට ඇවැසි සතිය දුගියට පොසතාට
මෙත් කරුණාවෙන් සිතෙත් වේවා සෝකය බිය හා සැක දුරු වේවා නතු වේවා සෑම දෙනා ලොව නිවන් දකීවා සෑම දෙනා ලොව නිවන් දකීවා සෑම දෙනා ලොව නිවන් දකීවා.
අපි දවසේ වැඩසටහන නිමා කිරීම සඳහා එත්තාවතා ජාති ගාථා සජ්ජායනා කරලෙමු. We are going to end the day session with sharing merit with all the living beings. We are going to recite the traditional stanzas. Those who know may follow, others may listen attentively. Ettavata chagammehi sambataṃ puñña sampaдаṃ Sabbi deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya Ettavata chagammehi sambataṃ puñña sampadaṃ Sabbi bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya Ettavata chagammehi sambataṃ puñña sampadaṃ Sabbi tatta anumodantu Akasattha ca bummattha divānaga mahiddhika puññantaṃ anumoditvā chiraṃ rakkantu sāsanam Akasattha ca bummattha divānaga mahiddhika puññantaṃ anumoditvā chiraṃ rakkantu desanam Akasattha ca bummattha Divānaga mahiddhika puññantaṃ anumoditvā chiraṃ rakkhantu maṃ paraṃ Idaṃ vo ñātiyenaṃ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo Idaṃ vo ñātiyenaṃ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo Idaṃ vo ñātiyenaṃ hotu sukhitā hontu ñātayo Imina puñña kammena mami bala samagamo Sataṃ samagamo hotu yāva nibbāna pattiyā Imina puñña kammena mami bala samagamo Sataṃ samagamo hotu yāva nibbāna pattiyā Imina puñña kammena Sataṃ samāgamo hotu yāva nibbāna pattiyā Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Sukhi hontu. Sadhu, sadhu anumodāmi. Sadhu anumodi tabbang Kamami kamitabbang Sukhi hontu Sukhi hontu Abhivādana sīlissa niccang vaddhā pachāyino Chattāro Dhamma vaddanti āyuvanno sukhang balang Ayurārogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevaca Ato nibbāna sampatti mināti samijjatu Sīlavantaṃ gunavattaṃ puññakettāṃ uttaraṃ dullabena maya laddhaṃ passivaṃ canti varaṃ Sāriputtādi Tērānaṃ āgatā pratipātiyā Sukhi hontu sopattita. May you be all healthy, wealthy and happy.